This show is brought to you by the Chiropractic Broadcast Network. Check us out on the web at chiropracticbroadcastnetwork.com. And hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tuning into Health. It is episode number 160 on this Monday, January 16th. I hope you're all doing well. Ooh, fun weekend, though. I went up to a little town called Templeton, Iowa. And, well, they have a little distillery there called the Templeton Rye Distillery. And it's the same Templeton that, they got the recipe. That's a Prohibition-era recipe for a good-tasting rye whiskey. And it was dubbed to be one of Al Capone's favorites. So they turned it legit, and they got a gold mine up there. I'd suggest anybody from the Des Moines area or anywhere else in the world around there, go up to Templeton, Iowa, and you get a treat. So, not too much drinking up there, so you get a half of a shot. Hey, it's good for your health, right? Hey, we got a lot of news for you today. Dr. Andrew Wakefield sues the British Medical Journal and a journalist for defamation. That's the MMR doctor, remember, from Britain? Fears over fabricated research data. What's the most cost-effective, most effective treatment for back pain? Well, I tell you what, we got some medical doctors that are actually standing up for chiropractic. U.S. death every 19 minutes from overdose. And parents plead guilty to cancer death of their son. This is a ridiculous story, and you gotta hear it, because I think all parents should be concerned about this one. Hey, we got a little dark video today. I'm sorry. Something's going on with my webcam. So we kind of fooled with it. But we got a lot more news because we skipped the end of last week. So on that note, I will see you in just a bit. Welcome again, everybody, to this edition of Tuning into Health. As I said before, this is your host, Dr. Chad Rohlfsen, from Des Moines, Iowa, from, the Spinal Tuning Studios right here in little old Des Moines, Iowa. Yay! Hey, we got a lot of news to go over today. It's separated into three stuff. I've got some vaccination news, definitely, because that's been building up for a while. Sorry about that. But otherwise, just kind of jump right into it. U.S. death every 19 minutes from overdose, and it's not illegal drugs. It's prescription drugs, folks. Prescription drug abuse is the fastest growing drug problem in the United States and results in one death in every 19 minutes, federal health officials say. Researchers at the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention found an approximately 27,000 unintentional drug overdose deaths occurred in the United States in 2007. Now, why is this coming out right now? This came out on January 13th of this year. So, the increase in unintentional drug overdose rates in recent years have been driven by increased use of class prescription drugs of opioids, analgesics such as Vicodin or OxyContin. Since 2003, more overdose deaths have been involved in opioid analgesics and then heroin. Since 2003, more overdose deaths have been involved opioid analgesics than heroin or cocaine combined. So the prescription drugs are eclipsing the illegal drugs, which is, that's something I've been saying for 15 years. It hasn't changed, and it's getting worse. And there's more prescriptions being, written every day. And the medical doctors want to blame somebody else, but heck, they're the ones that are putting their signature on the prescription. So, and they're getting frustrated because they don't know how to treat pain. They don't understand pain. They don't know the reasons why there's pain. What's simple? Pain is basically the fire alarm, right? And you don't snip the cord to the fire alarm, do you? No, you take care of the cause of the fire, right? Pain is just the alarm system, okay? It's not the cause. And it might drive people. It might motivate people. You know what? If a fire alarm went off in this building, that would motivate me to get out of the room, right? Or get out of the building for that fact. But that doesn't mean I'm going to snip the cord to the fire alarm and just pretend it doesn't happen. That's what people are doing. Once you get that concept in your head, you're going to live a better life. Okay? And there's only one profession out there that's been saying that for the past 120 years, and that is the chiropractic profession. Sorry. I'm sorry. That's the truth. So what is the most cost-effective, preferred, most effective treatment for back pain? What would you say? Yeah, actually, we have some medical doctors. At the 17th Annual North American Spine Society meeting, 3 medical doctors defended chiropractic by citing a Harvard study that found low back patients were significantly more satisfied with chiropractic care than when compared to conventional medical care. Consumer Reports recently performed a survey in which participants said that their preferred chiropractic care for the treatment of low back pain more than any other treatment to include pharmaceutical drugs. The survey also said that chiropractic care outperformed prescription drugs. And they just had a recent study done with neck pain. And the news anchor, what was it? Chiropractic came in first, exercise came in second, and the prescription drugs came in third. And they promoted the they promoted the exercise over the chiropractic. It's kind of like Ron Paul. He comes in so high and everybody freaking ignores him. There's an agenda, I know. And I'm not, you know what, I'm not necessarily a big Ron Paul supporter, but he makes a hell of a lot of common sense. And he's a medical doctor, so right off the bat, I have troubles trusting him. His word, because I understand his outside-in thinking. But, every day, a little something more. Listen, anybody's better than what we have right now. So the most effective. So does that mean that your medical doctor, if they don't refer you to a chiropractor, are they committing malpractice? That's the question, isn't it, folks? Isn't that logical? If your medical doctor refuses or just overlooks your back pain and just gives you pills for your back pain, are they committing malpractice? And I say yes. Do yourself a favor. Have a little fun with your medical doctor. Now, hopefully you don't have to see him that often. But if you go into your medical doctor's office, tell them that you heard a chiropractor say, and they'll love this, that they are committing malpractice if they don't refer to a chiropractor first. Try that. Have a little fun with it. If you know, you should. You should. And the studies, the studies of cost-effective studies back that up completely. So, yep. Back or neck pain. Fears over fabricated research data. This happened just recently in the British Medical Journal. Wow. More than 1 in 10, 13% of scientists or doctors have witnessed colleagues intentionally altering or fabricating data to get published during their research. A poll suggests a survey of almost 2,800 experts in the UK also found 6% knew of possible research misconduct at their institution that has not been properly investigated. The poll for the British Medical Journal has been presented in a meeting aimed at tackling issues of misconduct in the United Kingdom. It's being hosted by the British Medical Journal and the Committee of Publication Ethics, which they have their own problem at the British Medical Journal, because remember that doctor that was basically lost his license and was rebuked by the British Medical Journal because they published in one of the most prestigious journals in the world, 13 of them, 13 researchers all concluded that there needed to be more looked into of the measles, mumps, and rubella shot and autism connection. 13 researchers, including Dr. Wakefield, and all but 2 retracted their statements, said, oh, it was all fabricated, blah, 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 blah. Dr. Wakefield and another doctor, his colleague, held firm, and they got vilified. They got vilified in the press. They got vilified in the British Medical Journal, and a journalist by the name of Brian Deere, which I'd like to know his pharmaceutical connections. That would be great. So the man has been shamelessly mocked, repeated, lied about, and cruelly defamed for his legitimate scientific research into the combinations of measles, mumps, and rubella, the MMR vaccine, and autism in children. But Dr. Andrew Wakefield is now fighting back against those responsible for viciously denigrating his work. And the character by following a lawsuit against the British Medical Journal, which he published lies about him and the journalist Brian Deere, who authored many of those lies. The lawsuit cites several articles and editorials published by the BMJ that include false and defamatory allegations that Dr. Wakefield and his work, Secrets of the MMR Scare, How the Case Against MMR Vaccine Was Fixed, an article written by journalist Brian Deere that was published in the BMJ, and accompanying editorial by Fiona Godley, editor-in-chief of the BMJ, are 2 of the defamatory writings named in the lawsuit. So the British Medical Journal is about ready to get their butt handed to them. So basically the BMJ and Deere, not Wakefield, have been spreading the lies and misinformation to the public. So contrary to the UK's General Medicine Council and the BMJ and Brian Deere and a host of whoring media outlets continue to claim Dr. Wakefield's original study was a case series that made no actual claims about the definitive link between MMR and autism. And the observations which do happen to suggest the link between MMR and autism regression are not unique to Dr. Wakefield's research. In fact, it was published 18 months prior by another prominent British medical doctor, Professor Walker Smith, and Dr. Amar Dihan together documented their own independent research that also points to a link between the MMR vaccine and autism. So we'll see what happens. Can't wait. So while we're talking about lawsuits, anyway, there's been Dr. Stephen Barrett. You know him? He is the psychiatrist who's not licensed, has been spreading, accusations, threats against the chiropractic profession for, nearly 2-3 decades, is now getting sued in court. And the judge, from the information I just got, and this is from the Bolin report, the Tim Bolin report, I'd suggest that you go there. I'll have it posted on my Facebook page. Sorry about the darkness of the screen, by the way. Outlines what's going on in that case, and it's not looking good for Dr. Barrett. So, and the judge is basically suggesting that they should settle out of court, and Dr. Barrett is screaming that his case is right, and says and reverses the burden of proof plea. So what ends up happening is he's going to get his butt sued for $11 million, most likely. And he's wanting to settle out of court, or the judge is wanting to settle out of court. But the thing is, if they don't settle out of court, then they have discovery, and you get to see who his backers are. So it's going to be really interesting to see if Dr. Barrett's backers will, back out of it by paying the huge settlement. And I don't think so. And I don't think the plaintiff has any interest in settling it. He wants to get to the root of the problem and have some punishment laid out, which I applaud fully. Hey, if you do me a favor and press that little Facebook button down there and just tell people what you're watching, I'd really appreciate it. Even if you're watching the recorded version, that would be great. So let people know what you're watching. We're having fun. So, okay, I'm going to discuss this here in a little bit after this first break, but parents plead guilty to a son's cancer death. Now, you're thinking withholding treatment and all this type of stuff. It really should raise some red flags to parents out there for healthcare freedoms. And basically the parents, believe it or not, were expected to diagnose their son. And their failure to properly diagnose and recognize their son had cancer, well, now they have to plead guilty in their son's death and have manslaughter charges against them. We'll look into this here in just a little bit.
Do you have itchy, dry skin? Struggling with acne, eczema, asthma, or other health problems? Or maybe you're just looking for a safer, natural alternative to cleaning and skincare products. Maybe it's finally time for you to make the switch. What do I mean? A vast majority of skincare and cleaning products today contain toxic synthetic ingredients that are having a devastating effect on our health and our skin. But there is a better way. At Genuinely Pure, it's our mission to provide 100% natural and safe products that you'll absolutely love, and provide them at affordable prices. We offer a full line of products for the body, face, home, and baby, all full of pure plant-based organic ingredients to nourish, heal, and rejuvenate your skin. So now are you ready to make the switch? Come check us out on the web at genuinelypure.com. Find us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter. Place an online order with the promo code Dr. Chad to save 10% off your purchase. Make the switch to Genuinely Pure today. We love our chiropractor, and I've got 3 great reasons why. First, there are no appointments, which is great for my busy life. Second, we don't waste a lot of time sitting in a waiting room. Dr. Chad actually respects our time and schedule. Third, we get unlimited care at a low fixed monthly fee. That's right, my family's care is based on our needs, not the insurance company's ability to pay. You can love your chiropractor too, and your first adjustment at the Spinal Tuning Center is free. The Spinal Tuning Center is conveniently located on Merle Hay Road, right off Interstate 80. Find out more at spinaltuning.com or call 727-4000.
And you are tuning into Health with Dr. Chad. Yep, that's right. Oh, boy. I'm not sure. Should I show my YouTube clip? Let's get a little laughter going first, because this is darn funny. Darn funny. Like a friend of mine says, it's the prophecy of the Planet of the Apes. So look what happens here.
No.
Oh, jeez. Kind of reminds me of the vaccine industry. Oh boy, I laughed. And I think my suite mates over in the next office are wondering, what the heck am I laughing about? So, okay, now for something a little bit more serious. Sorry about this, but parents plead guilty to a son's cancer death. Parents of an 8-year-old boy, Ohio boy, died of cancer in 2008. Have pleaded guilty to attempted involuntary manslaughter of his death. Monica Hussing, 37, and William Robinson, Senior, age 40, face up to 8 years in prison each. Sentencing is scheduled for February 16th. They thought that the kid had swollen glands. Okay. John Luskin, Huskin's Cleveland-based attorney, told CNN on Tuesday. From time to time, the boy's parents would notice a lump on his neck that would come and go and did not appear to bother him, Luskin said. The parents never thought of diagnosis for their son. William, who was suffering from Hodgkin's lymphoma, he was basically suffering from Hodgkin's lymphoma. They did not have the money and struggled to make ends meet, and they were doing the best they could, Luskin said. No one recognized it, and the system here failed. The attorney told CNN it obviously is a sad case. But how come the parents are being held liable? I don't understand this. Hodgkin's lymphoma is a cancer of the lymphatic system. What causes it is not clear, though the symptoms can include painless swelling of lymph nodes, persistent fatigue, fever, itching, and according to the Mayo Clinic, people diagnosed with the disease often have a chance of full recovery. So because they had something that was, just a little lymph node swelling, it happens all the time, and it happens in every child. And it can be persistent if the kid has some problems. Basically, these parents are being held liable for not medically diagnosing their son. So it didn't say if they brought him to a medical doctor or what. It just didn't mention it because that day the lymph node wasn't swollen. But if we're going to go down that road, health freedoms are a thing of the past, and you can't choose anything for your family's health and wellness. That's not a good precedent to set. So hey, we got another video. This one is of a nurse. Why this nurse won't vaccinate. We're going to go into the vaccination news here pretty soon. So here we go. Well, come on. Hello. Well, how come my equipment isn't working right, huh? Drives me nuts. There we go. Oh, skip an ad. Sorry about that, folks. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But I think it's worth seeing.
Start that project. Every new year.
Skip this ad now. There we go.
Hey folks, it's Patriot Nurse, and in today's segment, we're going to discuss vaccines, a much debated, heavily contested subject. But I'm going to limit it just to infant and young children on this subject, infant and early childhood vaccination, because it is such a mammoth subject to try and tackle, having tried to record this video many, many times. And before we start, there is one thing that you will note, and that is that the comments are turned off. I felt that given the incredible amount of heated debate and discussion on this subject, you would probably appreciate being able to hear just me. And I frankly am not interested in the noise from either side that shuts out real intelligent debate. So I owe you a brief background explanation before we get started. I graduated with honors from the best school in my area from the bachelor's program, so I have a bachelor's in nursing and have been practicing as an RN for quite a while now. And in the time I was at my educational institution, there was very little discussion, true discussion, and even less true debate on the subject of vaccination, on the true science of vaccination, and on the real risks and possible perceived benefits of vaccination. So I had to search out the information, the studies, the data for myself. And in an effort to find the truth, I have come to the conclusion that I am against vaccination, especially for children and infants under the age of 2. I have 3 main areas of objection. We could spend hours talking about this, but I'm going to limit my objections just to 3 because I think it's easier for the average person just to wrap their brain around a limited set. So the 3 areas that I want to talk about with you today, and my areas of objection, are the additives that are present in the vaccines, the vaccination schedule for children, especially under the age of 1, and the sufficiency of breast milk for conferred immunity. So without further ado, we will go ahead and expand on these subjects.
There you go. We have a nurse that's come out and basically bold-face telling everybody that a nurse's education when it comes to vaccination is about that much. It's about 2 hours. And when it's talked about in class, all they're talking about what the vaccination's for and how do you administer it and basically what it's designed to protect against. It doesn't go into any scientific evidence of how the vaccine works, why it would fail, what are the side effects of the vaccination if they do have any adverse events. So, and I can speak on this because my wife happens to be a nurse, and she would confirm everything that this woman says. She's got her bachelor's in nursing from the University of Iowa, and what she thought she knew coming out of out of nursing school in Iowa, that's one of the top 6 medical schools in the nation, is nil. She just didn't know anything, and I've told this story before. You know, when my wife is 6 months pregnant, I said, "Oh, honey, by the way, we're not going to be vaccinating." So basically, we just never talked about it at all. And then one day I'm like, "Oh, crap. Yeah, she is a nurse." And she didn't panic, but so I said, "Here's why." And that's all I had to do is say, "Here's why." And she listened to all the information available. That's nothing she ever got in medical schools, and they are all medically peer-reviewed research articles. So medical doctors, they're not really trained on the side effects of vaccination as well, and so therefore they don't exist, evidently. So, yeah, and that's why they miss so many, according to the FDA. They miss about 90% of it, and other research says that it's quite a bit more that they miss. So on that note, oh, okay. Since we're on the subject of vaccination.
And now for this important vaccine announcement.
Vaccines are they're you know. Please
hang up and try again.
That's our good old friend Dr. Cosmo. So, victim of a debate on vaccination. Hey, the flu shot or not, state health officials warn against the alarmist reaction to a young girl's death. Yeah, what's so alarming about a young girl's death after vaccination? Yeah, anyway. Nicole and Justin Matten of Barton have lived every parent's worst nightmare. On December 2nd, their 7-year-old daughter, Caitlin, visited their physician for the annual checkup, and she got a flu shot. The next day, she developed a bad headache and fever. On December 6th, the normally happy and healthy girl, who had no previous history of chronic health problems or adverse reactions to vaccines, turned blue and stopped breathing and died in her mother's arms. They worked on her for about 3 hours and did everything they could, but they just couldn't get her back. Nicole Matten says of her second child, who is a first grader at Barton Grade School. The second medical examiner had yet to determine the girl's exact cause of death. Autopsy reports is due to within a few weeks. The state health officials are also investigating a tragedy. Any child's death puts a hole in everyone's gut. And when one dies, we all have to ask a lot of questions, says Vermont Health Commissioner. We're just waiting for an answer. But we believe in our hearts that it was the flu shot. Chen is not convinced. He points out that serious adverse reactions to vaccines, including death, are extremely rare. So rare, in fact, that none associated with the flu shot has ever been reported in Vermont since last fall. More than 130 million people nationwide have received the annual flu vaccine. And you know what? Not everybody gets an F. There are exceptions. And they want you to believe sometimes that, well, what I mean by that is the bell curve. Some kids don't get anything, and a lot of kids do have subclinical reactions, and more kids have basically unrelated reactions to the vaccine, mental retardation, and then death. So it's A, B, C, D, F, right? So, yeah, basically, I'll look for that autopsy to come out, see what's going on. When was that? That was, January 11th, 2012. Just a recent health thing. So, vaccine loopholes could ease woes of enrolling college students. This is in Dallas. Classes begin next week at most colleges and universities across Texas, yet thousands of new students have yet to get their meningitis vaccine required by law. Friday the 13th turned out to be a lucky day for some aspiring college students in Dallas. The Dallas County Health Department waiting rooms were jams after the clinic unexpectedly received 2,000 doses of $10 meningitis vaccine. But when the low-cost shots are gone, students who can't afford the $150 full price will once again be in trouble. So then I would have to wait and save some money and get $100-something vaccine. So basically, oh, crap. So, you know what? This is the problem with the meningitis. Meningitis is a bacteria that can infect your brain. It can cause serious problems, including death. And if you're immunosuppressant, that means if your body can't fight normal things, you might think it's healthy. You might think, oh gosh, that never a sick day of their life, and boom, they're dead because of meningitis. It happens, and it happens to young teenagers in communal living type of places. And the thing is the child, if they grow up, and I hate to do this to you parents, but if they grow up with parents who continually poured down their throats Tylenol, which short-circuit any immune response, if they grow up with parents that take the kids to the doctors that are so quick to administer antibiotics that short-circuit the immune response, if they grow up with parents that shove cough medicine that doesn't work down their children's throats to short-circuit their immune response, what do you think happens when they become mature adults? They have immature immune systems because their parents never let them fight on their own and build their own immunity. There's a fine line between letting your child suffer and building their immune response. Okay? Can we all agree on that? A fever is a good thing for the child because it's building an immune response. Mild childhood diseases are a good thing for a child because it builds their immune response. Okay? I want you to think of the immune system the same way you think of the muscular system. And you don't go to the gym and have somebody else do your workouts for you and think that you're building your muscle mass. It doesn't happen that way. It's the same thing you have to think about when it comes to your immune system. Your immune system doesn't become stronger with you putting a whole bunch of Benadryl or allergy medications or all this other type of junk, cough medications down your child's throat. Okay? So if you're going to be serious and if you're going to protect your child's health, you better let them fight their fights. Doesn't mean you don't have to monitor. Doesn't mean you're neglecting your child. but let them have a good, robust fever. And everybody says, anything over $102, oh, I got to go to the hospital. Bull crap. Bull crap. If they're projectile vomiting, if they got a rigid, stiff neck, and they've got a massive headache, then you have possibly meningitis. Okay? But if you're letting your fever go up higher, higher, you give some tepid baths if it gets too higher. We've had children in our household that have had 105-degree temperatures, and it comes down after a while. So, if it's a prolonged fever, it's a good fight. But our fevers don't generally last more than 12 hours if they happen at all. And they're few and far between, but they are a necessity in a healthy family's home to have fevers and not to dole out the Tylenol or anything like that. Let the child fight. Let the child become strong. So when they get into that communal living, that the dorm room or the college situation, they're prepared to handle this. Okay? And then you say, just give them another shot, right? Well, no, you're short-circuiting their immune response again. It's not a good thing. So I would be looking for exemptions when it comes to those shots that are being given away for $10 and $150 later on. So the flip side of India's polio success story. I've been seeing 1 year of no polio. Okay? So, but here's the flip side of this story, and this comes from the Telegraph of India. India's health ministry is celebrating a year of freedom from wild polio, now faces the dilemma that the public health experts have predicted years ago. The very vaccine it's using to fight polio is causing more polio paralysis than the wild polio virus. India observed last Thursday a milestone marking a full year without polio caused by wild polio virus. But surveillance data shows that last year, 7 children in India developed polio from the vaccine derived from the polio virus. The medical terms for the virus of the oral polio vaccine have regained the ability to cause disease. Such infections occur when the virus of oral polio vaccine, after being excreted by vaccinated children, remains neurovirulence and the ability to circulate in the environment and strikes other vulnerable children. So if a child that just took the oral polio vaccine scratches their butt, puts their hand down their pants and, gets a little messy and then touches a toy, the toy is contaminated with live polio virus that was from the vaccine. Do you understand that? They go ahead and celebrate, but not a good thing. Florida jury awards $12.6 million in teens vaccine error. And no, this isn't the girl that died from the flu vaccine. Teenager who lost all 4 limbs because of vaccination error has won $12.6 million award in a lawsuit against the University of Miami Medical School. Oof. The Miami jury reached the verdict Friday in the case of Shania Rohlfsen. The South Florida Sun-Sentinel reported. The judge will likely reduce the award because the jurors found Shania's mother partly at fault for not giving her enough medication. Oh, my God. Shania had her spleen removed as a newborn 13 years ago when she got vaccinated, designed to prevent the infections, but the medication had expired 5 months earlier. Shania later got an infection that led to the amputation of her legs and arms. University of Miami attorney has contended Shania would have gotten the infection despite the vaccine because the attorney knows everything, right? Yeah, right. Why doesn't the CDC fund a study on vitamin D for flu treatment? Apparently, the CDC would rather throw their money at political cash cow for drug makers than promote a real natural alternatives that can stop flu in its tracks without any side effects. Wow. Where's the CDC-sponsored study on vitamin D in the flu vaccine, for instance? According to the findings from 2010 study, that didn't get any widespread attention, vitamin D is a highly effective way to avoid the influenza. In fact, children taking low doses of vitamin D3 shown to be 42% less likely to come down with the flu. But CDC, your tax money, they don't want to study that. They don't want to study anything that will keep your child healthy. On that note, we'll be back right after this.
When you're looking for a new home, why not seek the counsel of friends who happen to know the housing market better than all the rest? Mike and Holly Taylor with Iowa Realty can answer all questions related to securing a mortgage and provide valuable information that is important to your family. Mike and Holly will provide you with a detailed summary of area schools, nearby amenities, and all the testimonials from the people that they have served. Call Mike or Holly at 453-6011. That's 453-6011 to start looking for your new home today. Attention small business owners. Are your marketing materials looking stale? Does the expense of hiring an advertising company just make you cringe? Let Cinnamon Rost with 1809 Design discover your company's unique personality and help you find a design that fits your business and attracts your customers. Working one-on-one with a professional designer means you'll receive a quality finished product quicker and for a lower price. From logos to business cards and flyers to banners, 1809 Design looks forward to helping you with your next marketing endeavor. Visit 1809design.com or call 515-989-1809 today. And you are tuning into Health with Dr. Chad.
Whoa, I went a little over there. There's a lot of vaccine news, so much. There's so much. Oh, well. We'll get to it. We'll get to it eventually. So I tell you what. Here is a little video that kind of backs up the whole vaccination, the trap thing. And it talks about West Virginians, how they have no right to, well, opt out of vaccines. So, come on. Oh.
For those of us who can recall an era 50 years ago, the development of vaccines was largely viewed as something wonderful, a triumph of science over disease. The list of vaccines was short indeed, and kids lined up to get their dose without too much parental concern in hopes of a healthier life going forward. But the vaccine landscape has been completely altered since that time. Today, the sheer number of vaccines has skyrocketed.
And we're here to say that we believe 36 vaccines in the first few years of life
Actually, it's 107.
is too many, too soon.
Drug companies, motivated by profit above all else, strive to provide a dose of so-called protection against almost anything out there. Those vaccines carry risk, and as more and more of them are developed and promoted, more and more ordinary people are saying enough.
24 vaccines by the time he was 14 months old. And 3 weeks later, he lost good talking, got big purple circles under his eyes, and he hasn't spoke since.
Parents are now questioning whether the contents of these vaccines are worth the risk.
Too many, too soon! Too soon!
Combine this with vaccine rules that exist in a state like West Virginia. Here, the state tries to bind parents to the vaccines they believe their kids should be getting.
Federal health officials concede vaccinations contributed to a child's autism-like symptoms.
On the march.
At a time when much of mainstream America is beginning to question the need for all these new vaccines, West Virginia health officials are trying to handcuff its citizens to them. A near force-feeding, if you will, of whatever the major drug companies send their way. Over the past 4 years, the health department has been trying to add more vaccines to the mandated list. But lawmakers have not been willing to do that without offering the public a non-medical exemption, something that comes automatic in 48 other states. In January 2008, frustrated by not getting their way, the state health department went around the legislature by creating an interpretive rule. It gave them sole authority to add as many vaccines as they want to the mandated list. They told the Clarksburg Telegram their actions were justified by this section of state code. Additional immunizations may be required by the Commissioner of the Bureau for Public Health for public health purposes. But this section of the code deals with purchasing contracts, buying vaccines, not mandating new.
Okay. That's disturbing. That's disturbing because all you have to do is prove for that to be, like I said, is for purchasing, but how they're using it is wrong because, well, all they'd have to prove is that a non-vaccinated child is more unhealthy than a vaccinated child. And can they actually prove it? Do they have any data out there, which they don't, that can actually prove that vaccinated children are healthier than non-vaccinated? They can't find it because it's not out there. Do you know that? They can't find it because it's not out there. So I'll have that video up at facebook.com/Rohlfsen. You're more than welcome to pop there and kind of peruse anything I might put out. So, here's a National Institute of Health study. Shows that 32 million Americans have autoantibodies that target their own tissues. Now, why is that? Why would the body start attacking itself? You know, it doesn't make any sense, huh? More than 32 million people in the United States have autoimmune bodies, which are proteins made by the immune system that target the body's tissue and define a condition known as autoimmunity. A study shows that the first nationally represented sample looking at the prevalence of the most common type of autoantibody, known as the antinuclear bodies, found in the frequency of the ANA is the highest among women and other individuals of African Americans. The study was conducted by the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, part of the National Institute of Health. Researchers at Gainesville at University of Florida have also participated. Earlier studies have shown that the ANA can actually develop many years before the clinical appearance of the autoimmune disease, such as diabetes type 1, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis. ANA is frequently measured in biomarkers in detecting autoimmune diseases, but the presence of the antibodies does not necessarily mean that will So there's another one for you vaccine people. Anyway. Hey, listen, we got salt hypertension linked, clarified. You know, because we've heard stories about how salt's really bad for you and everything. Well, no, they're saying take another look at salt. It's not necessarily causing a lot of it. So this comes from the UPI. It says a U.S. review of a study repudiates the widely held belief that blood pressure results from excess salt causing an increased blood volume, researchers say. Studies leaders, both professors of the University of Boston University School of Medicine, say that the term volume-expanding hypertension implies that excess salt leads to retention of extra fluid within the arterial circulatory system, causing an increased blood volume and added pressure on the arterial walls. However, the research showed the conditions characterized by the expansion of the blood volume in other causes, such as secretion of antidiuretic hormone and excessive elevation of blood sugar, did not cause a rise in blood pressure because the extra fluid is accommodated by distension, state of being stretched by the normal dimensions of capillaries in veins. The purpose of this paper is to correct the erroneous concept that has prevailed for many, many years, even though the scientific evidence is mounted against it. So, that's interesting. That will be up at facebook.com/Rohlfsen. Where was that study? Oh, this is funny. Surgery seems most effective for herniated discs. Bull crud. Married people benefit from surgery for herniated spinal discs. Why put married people benefit most from surgery for herniated spinal discs, according to a new study? Married people? And overall, researchers found that surgery is more effective than non-surgical treatment options for herniated discs. New study published in the January 15th issue of Spine, Dartmouth Medical School. Researchers examined 4 years of data of the spine outcomes research, one of the largest clinical trials in surgery for spinal disorders, according to the journal news release. Now, surgery for discs is basically 2/3 failure rate. And they're sitting here, bold-faced lies, talking about how surgery seems the most effective for herniated discs. And the study identified 3 specific factors that were linked to the most notable improvement following surgery for a herniated disc: being married, not having problems with other joints, and such as a knee or hip, and having back pain that was increasing at a time of treatment. So, like I said, get to the chiropractor first. Herniated, bulged disc, chiropractors can do a lot with if they do it right. If it's a ruptured disc, then maybe you want to look at surgery. But that's the only time I'll ever send a person off to surgery when it comes to disc problems, is if it's ruptured. Because I tell you what, we have great results with bulged or herniated discs. So they're actually pretty easy. So FDA releases draft guidelines on social media for the pharmaceutical industry. You know that they spent over $1 billion on social market media? More than $1 billion last year. But when it comes to playing in social media, pharmaceutical companies have been unclear about what's permissible and what is verboten. They have been waiting for guidelines from the Food and Drug Administration, which held hearings into the matter long ago. Unfortunately, the draft guidelines finally released last week by the Food and Drug Administration won't clear up too much of the confusion. 15-page document said it's important to emphasize that this is still only a draft and focus exclusively on social media discussion of off-label medication use. And tell you what, pharmaceutical industry is getting bitten in their butt with their social media, because on social media, the consumer has a right to respond back. And it's not all favorable, I'll tell you that much, folks. They're getting hammered in their own social media circles. And so what ends up happening is you get both sides of the information. It's a level playing field. So, which, hey, I say is great. Let the public hammer back. So, how to break up with your pediatrician. You're a parent and you're the one in the control. Always remember that. And I think that they forget that, Jennifer Aronson says. Jennifer Aronson, 41, a magazine editor and a mom of 2 in Manhattan, was pregnant with her first child. She did whatever every baby book tells you to do. She interviewed doctors and found the one that was a good fit. We knew that we were having a boy, and my husband wanted a male pediatrician. So we found this guy who was the head of whatever and an impressive resume and seemed to totally be fine in the interview. But it wasn't long before Aronson left her doctor's visits feeling that the doctor was brushing us off like, you silly first-time parents. When Aronson's son, Gio, was just 9 months old, he had a constant cough and knew something was wrong. She brought him in before the trip away from home, and her doctor says, he's fine, just a cough. Well, basically that trip ended up to the ER, and he was sent home with the diagnosis of pneumonia. When they got back, Aronson showed her pediatrician the x-rays, who got the brush off again. He says, I don't think it's pneumonia. So basically 5 signs. It's time to switch. You can't get a word in edgewise. Your doctor doesn't follow through, blah, 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 blah. Doctor doesn't listen to you or treat you like you're that tall. Time to get another doctor. Unless it's a surgeon. You know, surgeons, they can treat you that tall, but, you know, they can shove their bedside manner because you're not paying them for their bedside manner. But doctors, you got to be nice. They have to take acting classes because they don't know how to relate. So, Antidepressants in pregnancy. Years I've been telling people to watch, if you're pregnant, don't be taking any antidepressants because they can affect the baby. Well, now that research has come to pass. So, and they're even having commercials about it. So did you take Zoloft, Paxil, blah, 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 Wellbutrin when you were pregnant? I just saw that commercial this weekend. So a recent research paper published in the British Medical Journal reported that taking serotonin or reuptake antidepressants, SSRIs, like fluoxetine, Prozac, Paxil, or Zoloft during the second half of a woman's pregnancy could do more harm than good and double the risk that babies will develop a persistent pulmonary hypertension of the newborn. This finding supports the warning issued by FDA during 2006 that alerted women that those taking SSRIs were six times more likely to deliver babies with this disease. It's high blood pressure in the arteries of the lungs, and it causes the right ventricle of the heart, which must pump blood through the lungs to pick up oxygen to work harder, and can ultimately cause a weakening of the heart and heart failure. So, what do you say? I mean, and you could tell every pregnant woman that ever went to their doctor and said, will this harm my baby? Will this? No. There's no evidence that suggests, and that's their big frickin' thing. There's no evidence to suggest that there would be any harm. Well, now there is evidence. Dumbass doctor, what are you thinking? Why do you give something that potent to a pregnant woman? Why did you give it to a normal person that's not pregnant anyway? You're not treating anything. There's no objective proof. So, sorry, I have to get a little unprofessional sometimes. Most feel guilty after fast food. Really? Go watch the documentary Fathead. Now I'm not saying go for the fast food every time. No, fast food every once in a while is a good thing. And I laugh. If I ever go to McDonald's, which I do on occasion. And, I'm eating a burger and I'm enjoying it. And then that feeling of, oh man, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Bull crap. Enjoy it. Be thankful that it can give you some nutrition and all that type of stuff. I'm not saying it's the best nutrition. No, it's not. That's why I supplement. And like I said, I don't do it every day, and you need to have good food in you. And fast food isn't necessarily great food, but it's still good food. So go to Netflix and watch the documentary Fathead, because they had supersized, right? And so if you look at the data that they're using on supersized, it was more about the sodas that he was consuming rather than the actual food. In Fathead, when he would eat, all he did was, I think it was lemonade. He wouldn't do the sodas. And he actually ended up losing weight, and his blood pressure and vitals got better. So, and did the same type of protocol that the Supersize Me guy did. Just without the sodas, the supersized sodas. So I think it is more about the sodas and the high fructose corn syrup. But on the other hand, you can keep a McDonald's hamburger for 5 years in a wrap package, and it will look like it won't mold. Something wrong with that. So I'm just saying, don't get all sensitive about fast food all the time. Don't feel guilty about it, because then what's going to happen is you're going to be careful what you wish for, right? Miracle food. Cherries can help reverse gout and arthritis inflammation. Did you know that cherries can lower the level of inflammation in the body drastically enough to actually alleviate arthritis symptoms and reduce your risk of cardiovascular disease and diabetes? It doesn't even take a powerful extract to feel the effect. Powdered cherries alone have produced dramatic results. If you got arthritis or something like that, I'd much rather you take that than the NSAIDs, because the NSAIDs are going to shut down your cartilage production, and it's going to perpetuate your arthritic disease more than simple cherries would, right? And still, keep the joints mobile. Get the motion. Get some motion in the joints. The only way to do that is with chiropractic when it comes to the spine. And a nice walk wouldn't do you too bad either. So 1 in 5 Americans is extremely stressed. Are you? Stress is where it's all at, folks. I'll end with this one. Every year, the American Psychological Association released its Stress in America survey. This latest released yesterday, warning that we're frazzled beyond belief, especially if you got health problems and are caring for someone who does. But it's no surprise there. Yet I wonder how much the survey of 1,200 reflects the national psyche of 300 million, or whether it's just relevant to these to try to summarize the collective masses feeling. You're feeling stressed. What's one way to relieve stress? Chiropractic adjustments relieve your body's tension and stress, which allows your nervous system to work more normally, like it was supposed to. And then you can handle daily stress much easier. Massage is another way. But chiropractic adjustments are going to do a lot with that type of thing. And if you do spinal tuning, it will do even more, which many of you don't do spinal tuning because I'm the only one who does it. I haven't taught it yet. I'm not sure how to teach it. So, what's this? Americans hit the brakes on healthcare spending. All that stress is all actually shrinking your brain, they found out with fMRI. And heart researchers falsified red wine. Yes, red wine. They said it was heart healthy. Well, they found out that the researcher falsified data. I wonder if they could falsify data on other types of stuff going on. Oh, well, I won't talk about the dirty minds. The writer researcher's orgasm in a noisy fMRI machine. Nah. You don't want to know that. But, or the penis tattoo that leads to a permanent erection. What's the jerk thinking? Anyway, I hope you had a great time because I'm going to do it on Thursday again. So, and I hope that you are there to have fun again. So I didn't get through all of it. So I got a good 15 pages there that we can get through. And I'll have more on Thursday. On that note, this is Don Ross from his album Breakfast for Dogs. And he's given me permission to utilize his music, his wonderful acoustic guitar music, as bumpers for my show. So I appreciate that, Don, if you're listening. Yeah, right. He's up in Canada. I'm trying to get him down here to Iowa. I tried to lure him with a bottle of Templeton Rye. We'll see what happens. On that note, folks, I want you to have a great one. And Happy New Year again. And we'll catch you on the flip side.